Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to City Council Bill 19-0449, zoning regulations, neighborhood commercial establishments. And the purpose of this legislation is to prohibit the sale of tobacco products, electronic smoking devices, accessories, and related products by a retail goods establishment that is a neighborhood commercial establishment. Uh, the I want to state that public notice requirements have been met, and at this time, I'd like to call on Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark, who is the sponsor of this bill. Councilwoman Clark.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and guests from our agencies. Neighborhood commercial establishments term and a new function in the new zoning code that was enacted as of June 7th, 2017. The idea was to encourage the rehab of some vacant properties which sit in residential neighborhoods and in residential buildings, but used to at one time have some commercial use. Given that qualification, the owner of that property or a representative of that property has the right, with that history, to come to the zoning board with a residentially zoned property and appeal for a conditional use as neighborhood commercial establishments. There are 7 categories within that big umbrella, and they include things that you can have. One is art galleries, art studios, daycare centers, offices, personal services establishments like barbershops and massage parlors, restaurants, but you can't have live entertainment or dancing, and retail goods establishments that do not allow alcoholic beverage sales. In that final category, I would like to add to the prohibition against alcohol sales the prohibitions that you have already recited, Mr. Chairman, against products and against electronic tobacco devices and their accessories. Now, the reason is this is a small subset of commercial uses across the city. It's only those that are residentially zoned, have a history of commercial use, and come to the zoning board seeking to create a non-residential use. So I think he can correct me if I misstate him, but when I asked the zoning executive, Mr. Bumgarner, if he knew how many of these places had come before the zoning board in the almost 3 years of this new use, he said that there wasn't time to research, but probably guesstimate 50 to 75 properties that appealed for one of these functions, not all for convenience stores or retail stores, which is only 1 out of 7. And I think that when he has a chance to talk, he can correct me or whatever, but that's the case that I understood. So basically, these are in residential neighborhoods. I've had the experience of how neighbors feel. And basically, what they're looking for, well, they're not looking for convenience stores. But if they have to have one, they're looking for ones that do not have the kind of products that attract to hang out, that attract people, young people to come in to see about vapes or something like that. And basically, that's why I added it, not thinking of the experience I've had, which has all been resolved, I hope, at least for the moment. but thinking more about the future because this would not be retroactive, I don't believe. So I would ask you to consider this, ask me questions, and basically support this legislation, if you would, please.
Okay, thank you, Mary, Councilwoman Clark. I kind of leapfrog into you. What I'm going to do is I want to do roll call. And do roll call. Anyone that has a question to the sponsor could go ahead and ask the question.
That'd be great.
Vice Chair Sneed.
Yes.
Vice Chair Sneed.
Yes, I have a question. Can you describe what the accessories are, Councilwoman?
No, but there's an overall definition that is referenced, I believe, in this bill, which would satisfy your question, but I have the answer. I mean, I don't know. It's all the stuff that goes smoking.
So if I may, Vice
I don't
Chair.
know. And I don't care if the accessories in there or not, as long as the electronic smoking devices and as long as the tobacco products are prohibited. I don't know what those accessories are, and I know that legislative reference has been back and forth. Is anyone here from the law department? And satisfied in its...
Yes, we're here.
Oh, okay, then you can speak for yourselves.
Yeah, this is the law department. You want to answer, Councilwoman Vice Chair Sneed?
I can't answer this question.
Yeah, we believe that legislative reference has drafted an amendment that speaks to defining accessories in a way that's compatible with the state law that brings that.
Yes. Correct.
And so all like regular, and I don't smoke. So like regular, like Newports or something, we're saying, hey, they won't be sold here. And
yeah, that's right.
Will like lighters that people use to smoke, to light up their cigarettes.
I hope so, but I don't know. It's kind of...
It's Tony Franco here from Legislative Reference. I can speak to the definition that we're going to be using.
Okay, Tony, go ahead.
We're cross-referencing a definition from state law, which defines tobacco product to mean any product intended for human inhalation, absorption, ingestion, smoking, heating, chewing, dissolving, or any other manner of consumption that is made or derived from tobacco or nicotine, and any accessory or component used in any manner of consumption of a product described in item 1 of this paragraph. And it also goes on to include cigars, cigarettes, chewing tobacco, electronic smoking devices, rolling papers, and things of that nature. It's a pretty thorough definition.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks for helping with this.
Yes. Yes. So that's what I'm curious. So maybe not lighters, but definitely the paper.
It sounds like lighters. What's the use of having them there if you don't have something to buy that you smoke? I don't know. I don't know.
Like I don't smoke, but I know I've used a lighter to light the grill or something from a smoker before. I don't know. I'm not a smoker.
Well,
so I'm okay.
I'll make them take out whatever you don't like and put it in. I need your vote.
Okay, Councilwoman Sneed, are you good?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, Councilwoman Clark, I know you're here. Councilman Costello? Councilman Costello? Councilman Dorsey? Councilman Dorsey?
Office in City Hall. Hey, how's it going?
Just while I'm doing roll call. You here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Any questions for Councilwoman Clark?
No, I think it's a good bill. I support it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dorsey. Councilwoman Middleton?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, okay. Councilman Pinkett?
Thank you.
Here. Councilman Pinkett, yes. Roll call, he's here. Councilman Stokes? Councilman Stokes? I see his
I'm
name.
here. I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm here.
Stokes is here. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 6. We have 6 council people attending the land use hearings. So at this time, we're going into agency reports, planning department.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Eric Tiso for the Planning Commission. This bill was presented to the Planning Commission in their meeting of March 5th. Staff had a few technical concerns at that time that we share with the commission, and I can go through a couple of those if you would like. Our principal concern was that we support the overall goal of reducing access to tobacco and related products to minors. And keeping them out of stores in our neighborhoods is a good way to do that. But the zoning code is a bit of a blunt tool. We think it would probably be better to control it through some form of licensing, though I don't know exactly where or how that would be accomplished. And we would note that a change made in the zoning code would apply only to future established neighborhood commercial establishments. It would not affect those that already are in lawful existence. It would not affect any non-conforming stores that might be in our neighborhoods that are not neighborhood commercial establishments. Moving beyond that, if the council believes that this is the best way to get started, the bill attempts to create this prohibition by changing the title of one of the land uses. So neighborhood commercial establishments themselves are defined as a grouping of a list of uses, as the sponsor mentioned. We think this would give the impression that a new land use is being created, and that would be inconsistent with the rest of the code. So at the time of the Planning Commission hearing, staff offered 2 options as a potential way to make it more clear. One amendment would be to change the definition of neighborhood commercial establishment in Title I. The other option would be to change the use standards in Title 14. And we believe that that would be a more clear way. Not sure which one you preferred. I think my option of choice would be number 1, to change the definition in Title I. But Nancy Ray and Legislative Reference Department assisted us in drafting both of those versions, and I would thank her for that work, so that can be made available to the committee for your consideration. And with those options, the Planning Commission recommended approval.
You're muted, Chairman.
Yeah. Councilwoman Sneed, you have a question?
No, I asked it already. I'm good.
Okay. Councilwoman Clark, you have a question? The planning? Councilwoman Clark, Councilman Costello, you there?
Well-
Councilman Dorsey? Huh? Councilwoman Clark? Muted.
Wait a minute. I just wanted to thank Mr. Tiso, who labored hard over this, trying to avoid, really, it's more a logistical issue of where to put something and how to put it. And he did a great job and gave us options, and I hope we pick the one he likes. Because we have an amendment in for the consideration of the committee, but of course, we could change it if it's not. I mean, I'm happy to go with what Mr. Tiso wants, and both of them do the same thing. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Dorsey?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, thank you. Am I to understand from Councilwoman Clark's remarks just now that there's more than one proposed amendment? Is there one from the sponsor and another from the Planning Commission?
No. Eric Tiso had 2 ways to do the same thing, and that was presented in the planning commission's letter, report to the city council committee.
Do we have those two methods or whatever amendment will be
We
necessary?
chose one. Tony, are you, excuse me, is legislative reference still here, Tony?
Tony is still here, yes.
Tony, which one did we take? Do you know?
I believe we picked the latter option, which was the placing it within the use standards.
Mr. Tiso, do you have any objection to that?
No, I would defer to legislative reference. They're better at drafting the options, so whichever is most acceptable is fine with us.
That was,
And to be
that
clear,
was,
we
they
are-
were-
To be
That's
clear, we
fine.
were pretty agnostic on both, but we just felt that this was more of a use, so it would be appropriate there.
Okay.
Tony,
Councilman Dorsey, does that answer your question or you need more clarification?
just a little bit more, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Tony, does that mean that this would be written up in some way similar to the way we reference retail goods establishments with alcohol? And this would be something like that, retail goods with tobacco?
right.
Well, no, I think it actually says, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but it says something to the
Somebody
effect
does.
of, you can't sell tobacco products as defined in the state health general article, in a neighborhood commercial establishment.
Mr. Chair, Eric Tiso.
Go ahead.
Councilman Dorsey, I just emailed to you the two draft options in case you hadn't had the opportunity to look at them. And I think to answer your question, we have retail goods establishments with and without alcohol sales, but that is written into the various tables of uses all throughout the zoning code. That would be one way to do it as a global change. But this bill is looking to only affect neighborhood commercial establishments. And our concern was by just changing the use title in that list of 7 things that themselves comprise neighborhood commercial establishments, it would make it look like it was a global land use category, separate and distinct from others in the rest of the zoning code. We wanted to avoid that confusion. So that's why we recommended either putting it in the definition in Title I or the use standards in Title 14. I think both of those would get to the same solution, but without creating other confusion. Hopefully that helps.
I think that makes sense. However it works, that's fine. Mr. Chair, I
Yeah.
take it we're going to be hearing from the Department of Housing and Community Development shortly.
Yeah, they're on the list. Yeah.
And following that, are we going to be hearing from the Health Department? I noticed that they are not listed among the agencies to which the bill was referred.
Yeah, that is the responsibility of the president's office, who he wants to direct what agencies would report on the bill. So that's
Sure.
probably what.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Middleton, Councilwoman Middleton, Council Vice President, you have a question?
No question.
Councilman Pinkett? Councilman Pinkett?
No questions. No questions.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Robert Stokes? Councilman Robert Stokes?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, my question is not for planning. My question is back to Councilwoman Clark.
Go
Is
ahead.
that all right? 2 things. You have commercial and residential communities throughout the city. They can be zoned for commercial and residential. 2 is, that's 1, what happens there? 2 is, if there's a owner that already have selling those products, and he either can be in commercial or residential or separate or both, are they grandfathered in, or do they have to stop selling those items?
This bill is not retroactive. So it is going forward for future cases only.
Okay.
where someone says, I want a store in a property that is zoned residential that doesn't have any commercial in it. And I can prove to you that back in 1930, this place had a store on the first floor. So therefore I can prove that. And therefore I have the right to go to the zoning board and have a public hearing appealing to put a neighborhood commercial use into that property. So it has to be a decision of the zoning board in a public hearing with posting, etc. Now, I'm not sure what you're concerned about, and I'd like to, I want to address your question. This is not helter-skelter all over the city. Right now, it just came into effect. Residential neighborhood commercial establishments just came in with the new zoning code about almost 3 years ago now. And it's been a handful, really, of instances where people have gone to and asked for that conditional use. Now, in asking for it, they may want a building full of offices. They may want a restaurant, and they can have alcohol there. It doesn't prohibit it, but they can't dance, and there's something else they can't do, but they can serve alcohol. In other words, there are a lot of choices. And some of the choices are stores, like convenience stores. Out of that, let's guess 50 to 75 neighborhood commercials that have been approved by the zoning board in the last 3 years. But it's not just the corner store that's been there. It's always going to be a place that is not commercial, that wants to be commercial, that can prove that once upon a time, a long time ago, it had a grocery store, it had a laundromat, it had something. And you can prove it, and you therefore have a right to go and ask for a commercial use again at the zoning board. So
Okay, thank you.
it's not citywide. I mean, there are maybe those 75 places, maybe half of them are convenience stores, and they are different places in the city. Not in my district, but in many places in the city. But it's a limited population of properties that can even apply.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Before I go into, so next is BMCA.
This is Derek Baumgartner for BMZA. BMZA has no objection with the amendments offered by the Planning Commission.
You're muted, Mr. Chairman. Still muted, Mr. Chairman. Matt, if you could unmute the chair.
Huh?
Good now, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Leon? Liam?
Liam
Yeah.
from City DOT. We stand by our bill report. No objection.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Pinckney, you got a question?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Law Department?
Hi, Mr. Chair. This is Hillary Ruley from the Law Department. We stand by our report as favorable with the amendments that planning proposed and legislative draft reference has drafted up.
Okay, any questions for the law department? No questions for the law department? HCD? HCD?
Hello, Mr. Chair. Katie Burns for Department of Housing. How are you?
Hi, how you doing? Good afternoon.
Good. Some of the concerns that we had with the initial bill, Eric Tiso discussed as well. The way it was originally designed to create this, what seemed to be a whole separate land use category that could potentially apply all over the state, was problematic for us. The other things that I want to point out would be the difficulties of enforcement. So thinking about this again as prospective, so if we think of the whole city as a pie based off of zoning, right? We have slices of residential, we have slices of commercial. Within that residential slice, you have neighborhood commercial, and that's sliced even further into those 7 unique categories. So moving that restriction on tobacco sales, as was suggested by legislative reference and proposed by planning, makes much more sense for us from that perspective. So we're talking about a really small subset, especially since it's going prospective. So I just kind of wanted to describe for the council what enforcement would look like. So if the bill passes based off of the amendments, we would go out based on a complaint. The property would have to be a use permit that was issued to a neighborhood commercial establishment within a residential zone after this bill passes. And if we found that they were selling tobacco products that are prohibited based off of this bill, then we would issue a $500 citation, which the owner could appeal. And then we would ask them to stop doing it, right? We'd ask them to stop selling the tobacco product. If they continue to sell the tobacco product, we would continue to issue citations. So it's going to be something that's difficult for us to stay on top of, not necessarily something impossible. I would hope that we would get enforcement off of the first few, but it's additional layers for the zoning enforcement officers to review and look at. And it's something actually easy for the store to pay the citation, take the product off the shelf, and put it back on the next day. So those are some of the realities of the enforcement challenges that we would have.
Wouldn't the health, this is Catherine Reisinger, wouldn't the health department, would they be involved in with this enforcement? Because they issue citations too at some of these stores.
They would, but they wouldn't issue it for selling the product, right? So the people that actually enforce product sales is the comptroller's office, because you need to have that license from the comptroller to sell tobacco products and alcohol. So there's nothing in the zoning code that specifically, like this is product specific. The other thing that Eric had talked about is in other cities and large jurisdictions, you see a licensing scheme, right? So if, we were in Philadelphia, we would have to get a business license. And those licenses control a lot of the time product, hours of operation, certain functions. We don't really have anything like that here. So, as Eric Tiso explained, putting it in this subset of the land use category is probably the only place for it now. So I don't think health would issue that citation because it goes to the use category. Does that make sense?
You're saying that so you're telling me that if there's a store, whatever, that someone calls and says they're selling cigarettes, that HCD would come down and give them a $500 citation?
Under this bill, yes. But
Okay.
health department enforces single cigarettes, right? So selling loosies, selling to minors, things like that. But because this would be in the zoning code, this would be a product in the zoning code, then zoning enforcement would fall to HCD.
Okay. All right, any questions for, Kate? Councilman Dorsey, I know you said something earlier about HCD. Do you have a question or are you okay?
I believe that Katie addressed my question. Thank you.
Okay. Robert?
No question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. BDC?
Thank you,
BDC?
Mr. Chair. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Dan Taylor, Baltimore Development Corporation. BDC stands by our report and supports the bill with the amendments that have been proposed.
Okay, thank you. That ends the agency reports. Matt, do we have anyone from the general public that wants to participate? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. This is Matt Peters, the committee staff. I'll coordinate any public testimony that we have today. So if you are connecting by computer, and this is for members of the public who've joined us, you can use the raise hand function, which is on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, to indicate that you want to testify. Anybody who raises their hand will call on you to testify now. Okay, I don't see any raised hands yet, but you'll have a few moments while we go through callers on the phone. So users on the phone aren't able to raise their hand using WebEx. So we will go one by one through each of the callers. When I unmute you, you'll hear 2 beeps. You can then either say that you don't want to testify, or you can state your name and start your testimony. So the first caller is now unmuted. You should have just heard 2 beeps. Okay, no response on that. Moving to the next caller, you'll hear 2 beeps and then you can begin.
No comment.
Thank you. And the next caller.
No comment, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And next caller. No response. And apologize for the feedback. And next caller.
Matt, I think that if you and Ed are too close to each other, that's where your feedback is coming from. So Ed might need to turn down his speaker, or you might need to step away from him.
Don't think that's the problem. I think I have everyone muted except for me, and we're about 12 feet apart. But, okay, so at this point, that's all of the callers. Does not look like there are any hands raised to testify. So I think we are done with public testimony.
So if we're done with all the testimony, we have amendments and it's in our package. Do I have a motion to move the amendments?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Dorsey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Who seconded? Who seconded?
Middleton,
Sharon Green, okay, Council Vice President Middleton seconded. Amendment, say aye.
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 But I need to do a roll call. I'm sorry, I need to do a roll call for the amendments. Councilwoman Sneed?
Yes.
Yes. Councilwoman Clark?
Yes.
Councilman Costello? Absent. Councilman Dorsey?
Yes.
Councilman Dorsey, yes. Councilwoman Middleton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Middleton, yes. Councilman Pinkett?
Yes.
Councilman Pinkett, yes. Councilman Stokes?
Yes.
Councilman Stokes, yes. And I forgot myself, Councilman Reisinger, yes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 yes for the amendments with 1 absent. The amendments passed. Now I need a motion to move the bill favorable as amended. Do I have a motion?
Motion to move the bill.
Councilwoman Middleton moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Clark. Now to do a roll call, to move the bill as amended. Reisinger is yes. Councilwoman Vice Chair Sneed.
Yes.
Council says yes. Councilwoman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Costello is absent. Councilman Dorsey. Councilman Dorsey. Going 3. Councilman Dorsey, you there?
Yes.
Councilman Dorsey, yes. Councilwoman Middleton.
Yes.
Councilman Pinkett.
Yes.
Councilman Pinkett, yes. Councilman Stokes.
Yes.
Councilman Stokes, yes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 yes with 1 absent. The bill passes with amendments and will come out April the 27th. This concludes City Council Bill 19-0. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
2 pieces of good news for you, Councilwoman Clark.
Yeah, that's right. Oh,
right,
yeah, we gotta go
everybody-
celebrate. Let's get sick.
I just want everyone to know
Double
that
check all that.
I'm going to appeal the decision from the federal judge. So
Yeah, which the deadline is Monday to get the appeal in, and we've been like, believe it or not, after my meeting with the mayor about it, I've restrained myself. I've simply prayed and shut up. And so the city solicitor reportedly sent it in, the appeal in today, Earth Day. Whoa!
okay,
Double check
thank
it
you,
before. But
Thank
it's
you.
one.
I'll see you at 3.
Everybody have a safe day.
Yeah. Did you see the letter
What I do, just
from
X.
Rolla?
You read it.